Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. James Gunn finally started talking about the new Batman Brave and the Bold movie recently. We also got a couple other big announcements and confirmations. He was talking about the new version of Wonder Woman, a couple of the other big things like The Flash, so we'll break it all down. Some of it was good, some not so good, and some caused a giant portion of the fandom to crash out for a couple days. Most of all this came from a single day of James Gunn. Just seemed like he spent a lot of time on social media to answer fans' questions. Sometimes he'll only peek out every once in a while, but every couple of weeks it just seems like he spends an entire day answering a bunch of different questions about a bunch of different movies. So usually when you hear big rumors or big news, it's best just to wait a couple days to see how James Gunn comments on it, because he's pretty good about shooting rumors down, or when he doesn't say things, it's basically confirmation that it is true. And he did not shoot down any of the Batman Brave and the Bold news that came out the past couple of days. Now I kind of think this is the reason why Warner Brothers and James Gunn released that Lobo, Jason Momoa footage from the Supergirl movie, that new trailer, because they wanted to deflect from all this Batman Brave and the Bold news that got out. So if you did not see all the big Batman news recently, James Gunn said last year that he had a series of writers working on the Batman Brave and the Bold movie. He was really excited to cross him over with David Corenswet's version of Superman. He'd been very coy talking about all the different big actors that had expressed their interest in playing the new version of Batman. There are many big actors that want to play Batman. As you would expect, everybody wants to play Batman. But he also said that there were a bunch of different writers that had been working on the Batman Brave and the Bold movie, and he wouldn't say who they were, mostly because I don't think that he wanted to reveal which ones he had fired along the way, because there had been a couple different writers that had come and gone on the movie. Naturally, people want to know who's going to write Batman Brave and the Bold. More recently, James Gunn said that he was happy with the current version of the movie as it was being written, and it was announced this past week, like the big news, was that Christina Hodson was the writer, the mystery writer that he had not revealed yet. This was what caused a giant portion of Batman Twitter to crash out for a couple of days. If you don't remember, you don't know who she is, Christina Hodson was the person who wrote the Flash movie with Ezra Miller and Andy Muschietti. She also wrote the Birds of Prey movie, and if you didn't realize, she also wrote the Batgirl movie. Yes, that Batgirl movie, which infamously got turned into a verb when it got finished, like it was completely done, ready to go, then thrown into a deep, dark Warner Brothers hole, never to be seen again, reportedly, because Warner Brothers claimed that releasing it would do irreparable harm to the DC brand because they thought it was so bad, until someone leaks it. Seriously, somebody leaked that movie. Them hyping it up so much makes me want to see it more, just to see what they were so afraid of, what they thought would destroy the DC brand so much.
Nope.
Now when studios try to vanish movies and TV shows like that, it's called getting Batgirled. You don't want to get Batgirled in Hollywood. So basically, the Batman Brave and the Bold movie right now is the writer and the director of the Flash movie reuniting for Batman in the DCU, Christina Hodson and Andy Muschietti. That's the real reason that a huge chunk of Batman fans started spiraling out for a week. On the surface, the news does seem kind of troublesome, but Andy Muschietti recently won back a lot of fans with Welcome to Derry, the It series. I did weekly videos for that a little while ago, so if you've not seen the series or you're not a big It fan, I'll post the links for that in the comments. It was good. I wasn't as quite blown away with it as I was with a couple other TV series last year, but I did think that it was a good example of how Andy Muschietti can make good things when he really tries and when things all work out. As you could tell, he paid special attention during that series to the visual effects, because that was probably one of the biggest complaints against the Flash movie that got people to start hating him way more. There were a lot of complaints about different aspects of that movie. There are a lot of things that you can complain about with Ezra Miller's Flash, but the very bad visual effects during a big part of the movie were a big part of that. It kind of felt like he was on a personal mission during Welcome to Derry, saying never again to doing such bad visual effects. And if you still really hate the idea of Andy Muschietti doing a Batman movie after seeing Welcome to Derry, reportedly the success of Welcome to Derry has made him more of a hot commodity around Hollywood, and they might wind up having some scheduling conflicts with Batman Brave and the Bold when it actually does get ready to start filming, so James Gunn would have to pick another director. So there's no absolute confirmation that he will wind up actually directing the movie. When it comes to Christina Hodson writing the movie, after she wrote the Flash movie, the Batgirl movie, Birds of Prey, just hearing that would sound like bad news because of the bad things that happened with all those movies. But remember, recently James Gunn said that he was happy with the Batman Brave and the Bold script at the same time that he had canceled or indefinitely delayed, like basically canceled but indefinitely delayed a couple of his other DC Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters movies, like the Authority movie, for instance, because he did not like the scripts that were coming in for some of those other projects. So it's not like James Gunn loves every single script that everybody is bringing to him and throwing on his desk. So what I think happened in that case is this is very common in Hollywood. This happens all the time where a writer will write a really banger movie on paper. Like on paper, the movie will be amazing. And through the course of filming and editing it and doing all the effects, gets changed so much that it barely resembles the original script as everyone envisioned it when they were just reading it on the page. So I actually kind of think that when James Gunn was glazing on the Flash movie so hard back in the day, he was actually glazing on the script, because there's no way that he would have seen those finished visual effects at the end of the movie, like the thing that everybody was complaining about, and then say the movie was the best superhero movie that he'd ever seen in Hollywood. Would not be surprised to hear if something similar happened on the Birds of Prey movie and then the Batgirl movie as well too. Like on paper, the scripts were solid, and then for many different reasons, after the movies were finished, something about the process just changed things in a bad way, and they wound up not being very great films. What'll happen a lot of times in Hollywood is that when a movie doesn't perform well, the studios play the blame game with like everybody behind the movie that worked on it pointing fingers at each other, trying to blame each other for why it didn't do well. And just based on the fact that James Gunn, who has said many times that Batman is his favorite superhero, he was his favorite hero growing up as a kid too, his most important character for building the DCU next to Superman, so Batman Brave and the Bold has to do well in order for this to work. Especially after the Netflix Warner Brothers buyout goes down in a couple years by the time this new Batman Brave and the Bold movie actually hits theaters. Why would go back to the same writer from the Flash movie, the Birds of Prey movie, and the Batgirl movie, because on paper at least, whatever she's turning in, he believes is way better than everyone else that has been working on it so far. Sometimes you'll also hear this about a lot of bad movies in Hollywood, that the script was great, but for some reason something happened while they were working on it that just made it bad. But if you're still very worried about DCU Batman, just remember we are still a long way from them actually starting to film the movie. And recently when James Gunn was answering all these big questions, he did confirm that Batman was one of his biggest priorities for the upcoming movies. In addition to all the Superman stuff that he's working on personally, he is not going to direct Batman Brave and the Bold himself. He actually said one of the reasons why he was waiting so long to talk more publicly about Batman Brave and the Bold was because of Matt Reeves' Batman 2 movie is about to start filming and will be filming about the same time that he's filming the Superman 2 Man of Tomorrow movie. You have to remember that both of those movies are coming out in 2027, a Superman and a Batman movie coming out in the same year, definitely eating good next year. But he also said that he didn't want to cloud what he called the Bat Sphere. I love that he called it the Bat Sphere because he was still planning on casting his own version of Batman for the DCU that was not Robert Pattinson. Like he wasn't going to force Robert Pattinson into the DCU, at least as far as we know right now. And he wasn't going to release Batman Brave and the Bold in the same year as Matt Reeves' Batman 2, meaning that he'd wait another year before starting to film the actual movie. So it'll be a full year at least before we see them starting to actually film Brave and the Bold. And a lot can change in a year. Just look at all the crazy buyout stuff that's been happening with Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount, all that drama. Just that stuff on the side. That literally just came out of nowhere. So just remember, a lot can change in a year. Do not be surprised if we hear about more changes with the movie over the next several months. This is also why I think that James Gunn is going to wait to announce who's going to be DCU Batman, like they're screen testing people right now, but he probably doesn't want to announce who it's going to wind up being until Batman 2 comes out in theaters, just because he doesn't want to steal any of the juice from the Batman 2, as he says, cloud the Batsphere. That does not mean the news isn't going to leak out, like somebody will probably find out who the new version of Batman of the DCU is going to be, but James Gunn probably won't confirm that absolutely until a little bit later. This is what he actually said. I like where we are, and then when the interviewer asked him about Damian Wayne being in the movie, he said, plenty of things are still in flux. Then the interviewer questioned him about Batman's age in the movie. If Damian Wayne is 10 years old in the comics when he's introduced, will Batman be in his mid to late 30s? And James Gunn's answer was, no, I think you have to wait and see the movie. He didn't want to reveal everything about the movie before it actually comes out. Some things have changed. Plenty of things are in flux on what the situation is with his parentage and all that stuff. When the interviewer pressed James Gunn for his remarks about Damian Wayne's parentage is whether or not he was still in the movie, James Gunn would not give him a yes or no, is Damian Wayne in the movie. He said, I think you'll just have to wait and see exactly what's happening. He actually said his comments about Batman's parentage were in regards to how and when Bruce becomes an actual parent, not if he becomes a parent. So I think this confirms Damian Wayne is still meant to be in the movie. And when he says things are still in flux relative to that, he's talking about the big plot details of Batman's backstory in the movie, details on exactly how old Damian Wayne is supposed to be in the movie, how old Bruce Wayne is when he fathered Damian Wayne with Talia al Ghul, what the DCU version of the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul's backstory are going to be, what their history with Batman is going to be when the movie picks up, if he encountered them and Talia al Ghul more than 10 years ago, assuming Damian Wayne is a preteen, like very young teenager, 10 to 13 years old, very young when the movie picks up. And how all those details will affect how old Batman is when the movie actually picks up. So it won't have a ton of effect on the actual actor that they cast as the new Batman, as long as he's within a certain 5 to 8 years time range. They can use makeup, practical effects, special effects to tune his face up, like face work, to make pretty much any actor within a certain range look however old they want to on screen. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. We'll probably get more Batman news in the next couple of months, both in the Batman 2 and Batman Brave and the Bold. I've already done a couple Batman videos for the movie explaining some of the plot of Brave and the Bold, Damian Wayne, how he's going to fit into the DCU, what's happening with Superman 2, Man of Tomorrow, so I'll add links for that at the end of this. But there's a bunch of stuff going on. That's why you're hearing so much about all the upcoming DC movies. We'll also get more Man of Tomorrow news pretty soon as well, too. I just did another Brainiac video because James Gunn confirmed a couple big details about the villains in the movie. Everybody click here for that new Supergirl Lobo trailer with Jason Momoa. Really good look at his character finally. And click here for my live-action Masters of the Universe He-Man movie trailer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.